This is a demo on how to load your film reel. We've got two film reels that come in a kit. So you have your tank and the lid, and you also have a lift rod, and you also have a stir paddle. So these things make up your film kit. It may change. You may have 120 reels. You may also have 3 reels in the kit. So just know that either way, you'll have some mix of these same things. You may have more reels, different reels, but then you'll have a canister, you'll have a lift rod, and you have a stir paddle. Okay. We're only going to need 1 reel. So we'll put everything back in our box. I need to reiterate to take any extraneous materials out of your kit. Anything that you don't need, anything that didn't come in the kit, please take that out. This particular kit had a the bottom of the film canister cap, and so please just make sure that you take things out. So now we've just got a little bit of oxidation, some rust and stuff in there. So, but make sure you clean it, make sure it's dry when you give it back. It really makes things a lot easier for your classmates, especially on the reels, because the reels, if they're wet, things can get stuck. So this particular reel is also bent for some reason. All right, so when you go into the processing room, there should be a can opener in there. So make sure that you are aware where this is, because you'll need it to open your film canister. So that will be your first thing. I usually try to have the table set up in a particular way in order to load my film. Again, remember, you're in the dark. It's supposed to be complete darkness in there. So one, make sure it is dark. Make sure you lock the door, and also make sure that that you know where everything is. So it's good if these 3 things, including your canister, is out somewhere where you can actually grab it and put your film reel in there. If you run into any problems, it's also good to know that that this is light tight. So if you run into any problems, say for instance your reel, you're having a problem putting this film in there, put it in there, close that up, and either get one of your classmates to help you if you know somebody that's doing pretty well with this, or you can contact me if I'm in the building. You can reach out to me. You can ask Lauren as well. So this also helps you, prevents you from ruining your film if you get into a rough situation. So let's take this back out. Another issue that you may run into. So this film looks pretty good. There are no broken perforations. All of this is really clean. However, this one has been handled roughly and the perforations are broken. This makes it really tough to put on the reels correctly. So you should not get so rough as to where you actually break these perforations. That means that you've probably been breaking it through the bend, and this is how we get it on the reel. And so you shouldn't be that rough with it, okay? So anyway, let me start us off. So again, we're in the dark. I'm gonna put this over here. Actually, I can put this over here too, because we'll actually work real time with this. The one issue is that we have not, that I didn't bring scissors. So there should be a pair of scissors in the processing room as well. And that's going to be for cutting off the frontmost tip for your film. You would have noticed that when you actually pulled your film out. You know how they have a curve where it's just one side? Well, you cut that off before you start to load. So let's picking up where I left off. So there should be scissors, and there should also be this can opener in the processing room, which is the room. Well, I believe at this point, if you've watched the walkthrough, then Lauren should have let you know where the processing room is. Well, the changing room, excuse me. So the processing room is where you process film. The changing room is where you actually take your film out of your camera. The changing room is complete darkness, and it's closer to a closet than it is a room. And it's right across from, right behind me, actually, and in the, across from where you check out these kits, the film kits. So the film processing kits, because you will have printing kits that you check out as well if you haven't watched the video. So anyway, so what I like to do is just make sure in the darkroom that everything, I would take both my reels out, but the paddles and everything else, the lift rod, those can be left in your actual kit. So there are a couple things that I like to do, and some of it depends on what dominant hand you are. So I'm going to start with the can opener in my right hand and my film in my left hand. This is color film, just in case you're kind of peeping, but it's old film, so so I'm using it in this case. Okay, so you'll find that this should just click on, right? This is, if you've used a bottle opener, then you understand, but it just clicks on, and then you just lift and it pops off. For efficiency, this may fall, it may fall on the ground or whatever. Don't worry about it until after you're done. So I'm on the table. You can actually, we sometimes have seats in there. There's not seats in there right now, but you can take a seat if that makes you more comfortable. I also try to definitely have my back to the door so that I'm blocking any light. I also, with time, don't rush, but you definitely want to be efficient. So when you pop that top off, the film just slides right out. Okay, and here we go. Right, so you'll have this. You can put that down, put that off to the side, and then you're left with your film. And when you unroll it, the inside, this is your emulsion side. So as it unravels, this on the outside, the shiny side, now you'll be able to feel this in the dark. You won't necessarily be able, you shouldn't be able to see it. But this is, the inside is your emulsion side. So you want to make sure that you really don't mess with that too much, right? You don't want to scratch it. Those are actually where your physical pictures are. And also think about this, like when you actually load your film in the darkroom, you actually want it to be emulsion side down. So anyway, this next thing that we want to do in the darkroom after we get this out of the canister is you want to pull this edge off and you want to cut it cleanly and as straight as possible across. So what I try to do is, I mean, you don't want your finger, you don't want your fingers in the way, right? But you also want to see if you can get these perforations lined up and be right in the middle, and then cut that across, right? And then you should have a decent cut, right? That's straight, if you can. So once you got that cut, you'll have this. This is some more trash, and you'll put that off to the side. And the next step is, there are a couple of things. What I like to do is, there are teeth here that inside your reel, and you want to make sure that when you turn it, that it is pulling your film around. So for that reason, I like to have the teeth, because they're on one side of the reel. So they're on this side, not on this other side, depending on where you have it facing. So I'd like to have, before I close the door, I like to have it lined up with the teeth facing me. Now I'm right-handed as well, so keep that in mind. And I turn away from the other reel, from the reel here, from the film spool. I turn away. So I have it set up in a way to where once I grab it, it's set up in the way that I want. The next thing is, you're gonna have to bend your film to get it on there. And this is where sometimes people are too aggressive with the film. I want a smooth bend. I don't want it too crinkled. I want it to just a nice curve. I don't want any pinches. Again, you could damage your film. You could damage the pictures on the film. So I want to be really gentle. I want this to be a nice, smooth curvature. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm using my index finger to feel this as it goes across. So I'm curving it because that's the only way that it's going to go to the inside of this reel, all the way in. And then I am going to, now in the dark, what I tend to do is I even close my eyes in the dark for some reason. And I want to make sure that the teeth get on the first part of the reel. All right. Let me check my work. Yep. So I've got that. And I do that by just checking my fingers again. And don't pull so hard because you don't want to damage the film. And I want these to be lined up. I usually use my fingers to actually touch the reel, but I know that I have, decent sized hands. So this allows me to do that. And so as it's curved, I continue to curve it and I roll it away, right? Roll it away. You want it to be straight. If it is, you'll hear some things. You see, if for some reason you feel too much crinkling, it may not be going on correctly, but you want to make sure that it is going across smoothly. Because as it turns and you have it folded the right way, you have that nice curvature, then it's actually going into these grooves easily. And then you'll also get to the end of it and move a little bit. All right, so you heard a little pop there, but everything's okay. So just know that you can have a few different sounds. It should go on smoothly when you have that right. And then at the end, I also, again, you're okay. I don't think you have anything on this frame. So what you want to do is just cut. Some people cut pretty aggressively. I'm going to cut just as close to that spool as I can, right? You can feel this in the dark. Again, I use my 2 fingers just to make sure. And I cut across. Okay. And then I just want this to also follow suit and be really smooth. Now I can feel this at the top because usually the rule of thumb is for none of these to be jutting out. Now at the end, I have a little bit of jut, right? It's out a little bit. I've actually corrected that. But that wouldn't have been too big of a deal, right? Now, a couple things. what you want, there are some ways to check. When you feel on your film, if it is too, if it's not out, like, you know, this is what, 3 rungs in. If it's just all concentrated in the middle, then you've gone too far. You've probably been rough in order to get it that way, and it probably hasn't had the curvature that it's supposed to have. And if it is, there is some kind of give sometimes, right? If you pull it and you hear that movement, you'll be able to, there's a little bit of movement. So it shouldn't be tight on there either. But this is good. Now let's do this again. All right, let me put that down. And of course, after we've finished everything, like I want to make sure that everything's clean. Of course, let me not forget the step that after I finish one, then I'm going to put that into I'm going to put it in my canister, and then I'll do the next one. All right, it's turned away. And I'm using this finger in here. I'm using my eyes on the second one just to kind of speed it up. And again, it's bent a little bit, curved, and that's how it goes on. It pops out and goes into the reel as I turn it, but I just want to make sure that it is turned. I'm also just keeping that smooth curvature to get it on. And there we have it, all right? This one's on there. Put this second one in there. Take my top. Now, also, they have this inner portion in your top. You want to make sure that'll be, you'll press on that, and I'll talk about that when I do the processing video. But you'll be fine with that. And you put this in there. Make sure it's all the way on. Put your weight down on it, you know. And then at this point, it's light tight. So you should have no light. There's no light going in there. And then I just want to make sure, right? And then I've got my cap, and you're going to pour your fluids in here. So that's how that works. You pour your fluids in, and it's light tight, but at the same time, it allows your fluids to come in, and you have your cap, and then you're done. Okay. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's not too tough, and I think you'll be okay. So we will be practicing this week. Make sure that you're continuing to work. It should be exciting. We're getting in the dark room, so it takes. We have to continue to work throughout the process in order to make sure that you have stuff to work on. So, you know, completing the process allows us to go through each step and get better at it. So this is the beginning, and we'll move on to the next. Make sure you check out the processing video as well.